All right, guys. Welcome to episode number 8, Texas
Golly.
Gulf Surfer.
Man, that is great, man. Welcome, everybody. My name is Jeff DiNicola, and, man, this is a show about surfing, and from the beginner to the expert. Before we get much deeper into that, it's always a pleasure for me to introduce my co-host. He's a plethora of knowledge, king of Surfside, Austin Campbell.
Thank you, Jeff.
Man, we're going to just do an up and down the coast, kind of get updated. We've had some really good waves over the weekend, so we're going to talk a little bit about that and some of the standouts. And then we're going into boards. And I'm going to tell people right up front, and I'm ignorant about this, so we'll be taking baby steps. Fortunately, we have an expert.
I think it's going to be something that we'll probably spend weeks on. We're going to have a couple guests, maybe, some other guys that build the boards and do some other things and, stuff like that. So we're going to go through from all the way from construction to the different styles of board, different shapes, fins. We're going to get through all that stuff. So, but we're going to try to start with construction.
Yeah, and I got a ton of questions, and so been surfing multiple decades, but I know how boards made, but don't know about the different nuances of it all. But man, before we get too far down the road, man. The surf was great here, man, over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Austin, have you seen waves that good in a while?
It was really good. I think so. Saturday, of course, we had the St. Patrick's Day parade down here in Surfside, and it was good. It was a good event. We have our cookout. We do a little cookout at the surf station, cook burgers and dogs for everybody who comes by.
Yeah, that was good.
So we had a ton of people at the same time. There was surf, right? There's surf going off, so people couldn't get to Beach Drive because it's blocked off from the parade, and there's the Jetty Park was packed. I think it was pretty good in Galveston too, right? They said it was pretty good, but not quite as good as here.
No, there was a rip running through the local piers there, which is a popular place. Really, man, Surfside was the spot for everything that I can understand. And it was so nice. It made me really happy to see beginners surfing all the way up to the best surfers that we have, all up and down Beach Drive, from the jetties all the way to A-frame. So I'm hoping that the other places in the coast, and we do have some information about that, but I think we were the best spot on the coast, unless one of these guys tell me differently.
For sure this weekend. Because I was talking to another guy, and there was actually like 2 different swells that came through. So Saturday was a different swell than Sunday. Saturday it was coming like southwest, like south.
Yeah.
And it was kind of coming across. It was bigger down the beach. And then Sunday it was like a south swell, so it was coming straight on. So it was good. I thought Sunday was better because it was longer lines. Some of the guys are going to think Saturday was better because it was bigger, a little bit bigger and maybe a little more power. But I always say I'll just take a long line over a couple drops and a couple quick hits.
Give up a little bit of size for the cleanliness of the wave. Yep. And man, there was a ton of standout surfers, man. I just throw a few names out there, man. The Nelson brothers, Larry McKenzie, Rick Morris, Cedric was ripping. Austin Campbell was allegedly riding some very good waves too, from what I can understand.
No pictures.
Yeah, I certainly caught my fair share of waves. And
I think you might have done a headstand out there. Your patented headstand. Rumor has it.
Yeah, you better take a picture of that because I don't have many of those left in me. But and real quick, I'm in the penalty box again with Johnny McGee. So I'm just gonna say
he is in timeout.
Yes,
yep.
It happened again.
Remember,
I took off on my buddy.
We only drop in on our friends.
Well, there you go. And I was 40 yards ahead of him, but according to him, he would have caught me. And so I'm in the. He won't talk to me for a week, but I'm in the penalty box for probably several days. But we love the guy. What else we got, man? What's going on down south? I got some things.
Yeah, man. Erin Hartwell, she sent me a message, and I asked her kind of what's going on down in Padre, and then also like, what's happening with the SBI Sessions, which is their surf camp they have there. Yeah. Yes, she just told me, it was spring break there, like it is everywhere, right? Yeah. I think we have like a little bit early spring break, and we have it going on everywhere. She said they have Fort Lewis University here taking group lessons Monday through Thursday.
Wow, that is
and
cool.
Lots of jet ski rentals happening. And she said, meanwhile, the surf is fun.
Yeah. One of our correspondents down in South Padre Island, Gaines Burns, he gives us a lot of good information too.
He likes to go over to Boca when he
Boca Chica. That's where they were. He said it was windy over there, but they had some waves. What's happening down there? There's some real good standout surfers too there. Matt Lee, his dad, Dalton, Ray Benavides, Ray Stackhouse, Carlos Alanes, Mark Northus. They were tearing it up from all the reports that are coming in. But here's what's happening next week down South Padre Island. It's expected to be 6 foot plus at 7 seconds.
What day is that? Did he say what day that was?
He said that is going to be Thursday and Friday of next week.
Right, because here it looks like it's going to be pretty good too on those same days. We were looking at that. So
yes,
it looked like.
So he's my week planner. Plan my week.
Wednesday looks like Wednesday we're going to have something coming through here. So
Perfect.
Tuesday it's going to build. Wednesday it's going to be good. So everybody, make sure you're. I think a lot of you guys are coming down with a cold Wednesday.
Yeah, everybody's got a mild temperature
Need to
that
be calling
day.
sick. So, but yeah, and that's really as far as the report goes. It looks like we're going to have some surf pretty much all week. It's not going to be as good. It looks like tomorrow we're going to have some decent surf in the morning, maybe a little bit.
Wow.
Still small, but if somebody missed it, if you missed it, maybe get out there and get some tomorrow morning, and it looks like it's going to build. So.
Man, I honestly am semi-surfed out, if you can imagine that. So, as you guys have noticed, we don't have a guest tonight. So, we're having some guests coming on, but we kind of wanted to address this board manufacturing and some steps before we had the guest on. We have some people coming up in the next few weeks, and I don't want to give it away, but we got some legends from surfing locally coming on. So, stay tuned for that. I'm pumped about this topic, Austin. Here's why. Again, in the many years that I've been surfing, I really don't know what's under my feet most of the time. I ride boards. I've rode multiple boards, and I'm asking Austin questions, learning stuff from Kerry Pitts. We're very fortunate that we have a shaper in town, Dougie Tanaka, and he's from Hawaii. And Austin and him been collaborating on some top secret stuff back there, and you guys are putting out some good looking boards.
It's nice to have other shaper. We've had through the years we've had some pretty. Yeah. We've been fortunate. We've had some pretty good shapers come through here. When we had Speakeasy Board House over with Les's place,
Remember that?
So we were building boards over there, and myself and David Cunningham were building a lot of boards. David's a real experienced shaper. He shaped, West Coast. He's, he's great shaper. Did a lot of other stuff, builds all kinds of stuff. So, and then we got Dougie here now. He's, he's from Hawaii. He's built boards all over the country. Really, he's built boards in California.
Solid dude.
Great shaper, and I feel like I'm pretty experienced shaper. So we like to collaborate a lot of times, and we'll kind of go through other things. But also the good thing is we build Psycho boards here, and I could say, hey, Dougie, here's the template,
right,
and here's the rail, and here's what we do, and he just shape it. You can't tell if I shaped it, he shaped it, or Cunningham shaped it. So that's one of the good things we have. And then KP is back there. He's one of KP is one of the best glassers in the world. Doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't matter if you're in Texas, California, Hawaii, anywhere. He's a great shaper. So I would say that. Let me see. Let's see real quick. I don't want us to die here. Let me make sure.
Again, we need a producer, but we self-produce.
We're plugged in. Here we go. See, this is what we got, folks. This is why we're looking for that producer. We got to make sure we plug in the. There we go. Our computer's not going to die now. There we go. So yeah, we're real lucky.
Don't you love that, man? That's some grassroots stuff, man. I love that.
I caught it, right? I saw it. I was like, oh, your computer's going to die. So like I was saying, we're lucky to have, kind of a plethora of knowledge here, and each one of us kind of have our own style, our own things. And then we got guys, like Mike Myers, Tom Maxwell, that a lot of us have learned things from.
Stephen Pearson, I ran into
Stephen
him.
Pearson was here today. He's a great shaper. I mean, he knows.
100%.
In fact, performance longboard. So, like you were saying, we get to, bounce stuff off of each other and stuff like that. It's pretty good. And a lot of, like you said, a lot of guys who surf, they don't know a lot about it. So when they come in here, they're like, man, what's going on here? How's that? And
crazy, man.
It is. It's pretty crazy.
And even the questions I asked, I've been fortunate to be able to hang around a little bit, and so I'm learning a little bit more. But we just had Gil Romero in here, and you're making a custom shape for him. And it was interesting as you were kind of walking him through the steps. And I want you to do that for me because my ignorance will show. EPS foam, this kind of foam, I don't know. I come to you and say, look, I want a board. I don't know the difference between foam A, foam B, glass job A, glass job B. And I really don't. So
right. And some people come in and they know exactly what they want. They're like, I've been riding this kind of board and I like this certain foam. And, there's a lot of things. I mean, it's going to be definitely some definitely some episodes where we're going to have to talk about it. So
it's a few, yeah.
So the first thing I always ask people, what kind of board are you looking for? Longboard, shortboard? What's your experience? We ask people a lot of times, and I'll tell you this, everybody out there, if you go to any shaper and you get a custom board, just be honest with them and tell them how good you surf. I mean, don't say I do a few errors from time to time, because if you do that, they're probably going to write on your paper doesn't surf well. Because most of us don't do some errors from time to time. So it's one of our jokes we have. But really, so we start off with what kind of board you're looking for, longboard, shortboard, what's your experience? As soon as they tell us their experience, stuff like that, then we kind of maybe guide them. Some guys have had a lot of boards built, so they already know exactly.
Dumb question number one. How many types of foams are they? The core of the board, where we start. What options do I have? How many foams can I choose from, and what is one and what's another one?
So, I mean, there's a few different kinds of foams. There's two main, right? There's two main guys.
That's what I understand.
The original PU, polyurethane foam. It's what some people refer to still as Clark foam. Okay. But, of course, Clark went out of business. Everybody knows that. Right. And so we have U.S. blanks. We have Arctic foam. There's another company called Millennium. And there's numerous other companies out there around the world that make that foam. That foam is essentially it's poured into a mold, right?
Gotcha.
It has like a concrete mold, and it's poured in there, and it lock it down, and it expands, and it gets, harder. It's on the outside, so the more you get to the inside, the softer it is. It's not as bad as it used to be.
What are the top two?
And then so the polyurethane and then EPS, expanded polystyrene. So expanded polystyrene.
What's the difference?
Expanded polystyrene is basically like your ice chest from Buc-ee's.
Okay.
Right? I mean, so that's pretty much what it's made of. So you have EPS is the small little beads, right? You have the little beads.
Okay.
Actually, I got a few.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Right.
Cool. We got props, man. This is cool.
We got some props up here.
That's awesome.
So, and I don't know if they'll be able to see real well. Right here we have a nose cut off of a PU blank, right?
And what am I looking at?
And so the PU blanks, they're going to come. Sometimes they
polyurethane blank.
Polyurethane, not PU.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, PU. So polyurethane, and sometimes people say they think, hey, it looks like already it's shaped. Right, the blank back there, you see our blanks back there.
Right,
and they
kind of because of the mold, right?
It's because of the mold, right?
Gotcha.
So they look like they're already shaped. And then a lot of times, and then you have your stringer and you're glued in. This stuff is, people think that it soaks in water a lot, but it actually doesn't. So there's some tests that have been done. So, and then you have EPS.
Oh, I see the difference.
EPS is like your little bitty beads, right? I don't know. Let's see.
EPS standing for
expanded polystyrene.
Wow.
And so it's just a bunch of little beads, right? And it's 2 pound. So it's 2 pound density. Your Buc-ee's cooler is probably like 1 pound density, right?
Wow, that is cool.
So you got 2 pound. Paddle boards are made from 1.5 pound density, so they're a little lighter. So the difference between the two.
Which is lighter?
EPS is lighter.
Okay, EPS is lighter.
For sure. It's a little more buoyant.
Okay.
Poly is a little heavier, but you can get light. You can get it lighter. You can get lighter. You can get all the way up to like super dense or lighter foam. So I feel like it has, sometimes with EPS, it gives you too much flex. Like it's very bouncy in the water. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, I think this just feels a little better, but we'll get into that later. That's all opinions about how riding. So as far as construction goes, now the EPS, a lot of people, when you hear people say epoxy surfboards,
right? What are they talking about?
They don't know what they're talking about a lot of times, right?
Why.
They say epoxy surfboards. What they're really meaning is EPS, right? Because
foam.
Epoxy is the resin, right? We build our boards mainly. We build them however, anybody can order them different ways. We can do EPS, poly. I build my boards the way I prefer them is with polyurethane foam, U.S. blanks or Arctic, Millennium, any of those guys. And then we glass them with epoxy resin. We laminate them with epoxy resin. So a lot of times people think about epoxy boards and they think about those tough lights.
Right.
And they're still constructed similarly, but they're different. And what we have, you have your fiberglass, right?
So that's the step 2.
Right.
First, you decide on which foam you want in which blank.
Yeah, and everything's done with fiberglass. It doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter if you used polyurethane foam.
You can use glass on either
with
one.
Polyester
obviously.
resin, or you use EPS with epoxy resin. You're going to use fiberglass. No matter what, the board's going to have fiberglass on it. And so that's the thing, is a lot of times people say, oh, I want an epoxy board. What they're really talking about is the EPS foam.
The foam itself.
Right, the foam itself. Because we laminate our boards, Psycho surfboards, with epoxy resin on polyurethane foam. I feel like that's the best construction. You know, and other people can have.
You would most suggest to people coming in to get a board from you.
Yeah, I think you got the best of both worlds. I think you have the best foam and the best resin. So, and then we do, you know, our finish work and our sand job. Like I said, if that's proprietary, we don't want to talk about that now. But
it's that secret stuff you got to do back there.
Now, as far as construction for the customer, a lot of times it just depends. You know, how if they don't know any better, I kind of ask them how they surf and what they're going to surf on. My opinion is, I think a longboard, a fish, or an egg. I really prefer it to be polyurethane foam. Shortboards, I don't have a too big of a difference. I'm not too picky on that.
Even though it's a little bit heavier.
Yeah, I like that little bit heavier. And you can get lighter foam, and you can glass it lighter, and you can make it ultra light. You know. So I think when it comes down to shaping the board, the shapers have different opinions.
What's a consensus favorite? If I got 10 shapers, California, Hawaii, Florida, which one do you think they're using most in boards coming out?
Man, I think it's going to matter where they build boards a lot.
Right.
Maybe the old school guys are going to prefer poly for sure, and then maybe guys building more the polyurethane foam more, and then maybe guys building more logs or more classic boards are going to prefer poly more.
I see.
Because it's a little heavier and just
gliding.
The way they shape it for the boards they're building, right? Now, as far as the actual working with it,
right?
Man, I think I still think maybe people prefer poly, but it's probably getting closer to 50-50. I don't know, man. There's in California, we're a dime a dozen out there. Everybody's a shaper, right? So there's more people to ask,
right?
So you talked to Dougie today.
Sure, I did.
And what did he tell you?
He prefers the
EPS.
He prefers the EPS foam.
Right. And then Dave Cunningham, he actually prefers EPS too, right?
Isn't that
and I think a lot of that is, and it's not as much the board, it's when they're working with it. The EPS makes little bitty beads, and it kind of just, it's heavier. The dust in this stuff is super fine and dusty, and it gets real stuck to you. It's real fine dust.
Ah, that's interesting.
Now I like the poly better.
This guy.
Because I hate those little beads that get staticky all over me. Right? They're like these little beads when you're shaping them and they're rubbing them off. They're like staticky and they get stuck all over me. And then sometimes you even get one of those little pieces in your eye or something. Versus this is like dust and it's just kind of like sandy. Now it is kind of harder to get off. So
now I come in much like Gil. He comes in and says, "Now we've settled on a blank. I know the difference. Now you've already got some information from me: height, weight, abilities, things like that. So now you're ready to shape me a board, right? What do you advise to them? You say, look, I'm going to put an entry rocker, a tail rocker, and then do you discuss what glass, weight? Is there a difference between different fiberglasses? So those are questions I have. If I'm coming in, and just don't know a whole lot, and say, so guide me through that part of it. So now I say, I like this board. What are you going to make?
Right. So we've kind of went over the model.
Right.
We decided what outline. Hey, we're going to do this model with Gil. We decided we went back and forth. We kind of decided with my Moon Pig. We call it the Moon Pig.
Okay.
Right. And it's actually one of my boards that I ride all the time. So we decided on that, and I said, well, what is your goal with this board? What do you want to do? You already got this board and this board. You got some boards. Most surfers already got some boards. So if you want one just like that other one, is that other one ruined? Or why do you want one just like it? And that's kind of what Gil thought. Well, he was like, well, why do I want one? If I already have this board, I don't need another one like it. I want something different. He wanted something that he could catch waves on easy on smaller days, like you can go over at the queue.
He kept saying
you know.
Quinton or something.
Yeah.
We'll ride at Quinton.
Yeah, something catch easy waves, something today that he could catch a bunch of waves on.
Right.
So I said, okay, so you want a longboard that catches waves easy. Are you trying to do a bunch of turns? He said, man, I'm not trying to do a bunch of turns. I'm trying to go down the line and glide, maybe one or two turns. I'm like, okay. So I want low entry rocker. I want it to paddle easy, right?
Low entry rocker means there's not a lot of rocker.
So the rocker in the front, if you this is your rocker, right? Your board. So the more rocker you have as you're paddling, you're pushing water.
So it's slowing you down.
Slowing you down, right?
Okay.
The flatter it is, the easier it is to paddle, right? So we're going to give him, low rocker,
rocker.
So it paddles real easy. And we're going to add a little tail rocker to it so it actually catches waves a little easier.
Gotcha.
Right? So that kind of helps you catch the wave. It kind of comes up, the wave pushes it a little bit. The reason we went with the moon pig is because it's a pig basically with just a moontail cut out, right?
Gotcha.
So a pig, if everybody doesn't know what a pig surfboard is, it's basically a pig is wider, and it appears to be, or it is wider in the tail. Okay. A true pig would be wider in the tail, 12 at the 12-inch spot than the nose is. We also move the center point a little back, about 2-3 inches, something like that. So
I was noticing when you were explaining that to him, and you brought these templates out, which we're going to get to that. And this is, I guess, how you start, right? It's like a template,
right,
for the design that you're going to do, and that's how you get the thing started, right?
Right. We have templates, and they have. I mean, there's a bunch of different kind of templates. They have full templates where people use a router and they cut the whole thing out with a router, so the whole board. But if you have a 9-foot, 10-foot board, you got to have a 10-foot template, right? So I would say, most shapers, they're using what we call a spin template. Okay. And so a longboard spin template's a little big for right here. So what we did is,
cool.
So we grabbed, let me see if we can get this in the screen right here. Yeah. So what we have here is we have the nose of the board, right? And you can see our marks all the way up and down it from all the different boards we've had. This is one of our favorite ones we do for some like grovelers, mid-links, and short boards and stuff like that. So so you have your nose here, right? And all the way, this is the middle, to about the middle of your board. And you're going to have a mark here on the middle of the board. And then you're going to spin it.
To do the other side.
And then that's going to be, now you see your tail is right here. Right?
Oh, I got you.
Right? So now your tail is here.
You've got a line connecting the two.
Right. So you lay it down like this. You trace out your nose to the center point. Mm-hmm. Then you flip it, and then there's your tail.
And then you do the other side.
Then you do the other side. Okay. Yeah. So basically, you're just kind of you're measuring it out even, and it's a bunch of numbers and stuff like that. So you have your number. Everybody has their numbers written down for different boards. Nose.
Right.
When somebody asks the nose and tail dimensions, what we're talking about is 12 inches in from the nose.
That's your first measurement.
12 inches in from the nose.
Okay.
And then how wide that is across, right?
At the widest point of the board?
12 inches from the nose. So you're going to pull 12 inches, make a mark, and then your nose mark is going to be right there. So that's where my first mark's going to be.
Gotcha.
So,
and that's where the rocker sort of starts.
That's on the outline.
Oh, I got you.
That's on the outline.
I'm with you.
So you got the outline. So you're going to have, and then you're going to have your center mark, and then you're going to have 12 inches in from the tail as your tail mark. So that's how we get our outline.
Gotcha.
So we got, 2 marks towards the nose, 2 marks in the center, 2 marks in the tail.
But you've already cut it out. I saw you guys sawing.
Right.
One time.
So after we
cut out the dimensions first.
No, template is to make the outline.
Oh, so if you're laying it on the stringer, that makes the outline.
Right.
Whether it's 23 inches wide or 24 inches wide or 23, whatever.
Yeah, we start right there. We lay it down. We do an outline. We spin it. We do another outline. So now we have the outline. On the board, we'll lay it up there, look at it, and then we cut it out with a handsaw. Some guys use a circular saw, an old worm drive circular saw. Most guys use either a Japanese, pull saw, or I just use an old, grandpa's saw, hand saw. That's what most guys use.
And so now we come in and the customer says, okay, now I understand the foam and I'm ready to make a board. We've talked a little bit about shape, what you're going to make me. Now talk to me about the cloth.
So one of the things, we're talking about, your design. We picked his design out. We figured out what kind of foam we're going to use. For me personally, if you come to me and you're wanting a longboard or something like that, it's unless you asked for EPS foam, you're going to get polyurethane foam because I think that's what's better. Now, I'm going to ask you, well, how much do you weigh? Okay, I weigh 150 pounds. Okay, we're not too worried about you getting in the deck. I weigh 250 pounds. Okay, well, then you're going to stomp on the deck a little harder, so maybe we need to add a little more, cloth. So the fiberglass adds its strength, right? You got your 6-ounce cloth here, and you got your 4-ounce cloth here. And the 4-ounce cloth, a lot of the high-performance boards are
6 ounce. So is that what the thing weighs? Aren't we talking about a measurement?
You're talking about a strength.
Oh, the strength. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
And so what you have, and you have different kinds,
so
can get
the
into
strength.
The
higher number, the more strength that the fiberglass has.
That's how much you're going to have. So,
okay.
And you can see it's tighter weave, right?
See that.
Y'all, they probably can't see it at home, but this is the 4 ounce is a tighter weave because they're smaller strands right here.
Okay.
And see how these are a little bit bigger. So, but anyway, so the 4 ounce is going to be lighter, and it's going to be not quite as strong, right? So we generally glass all our boards with a 6-ounce bottom and a double 6-ounce deck, and then sometimes maybe a 4-ounce deck patch if they need a paddle patch, or a 6. It just depends.
Why do you have some layers on the top different than the layers on the bottom?
Because you're standing on the deck, right? So the bottom, you just put the single layer of 6. Now you're supposed to have an extra layer over the fin boxes and everything like that. So I'll ask them, how heavy, how hard are you on your board? How much do you weigh? Are you going to knee paddle? All those things to decide if we want to put, more cloth on there or something like that. And, KP, he's a glassing guru, he's an expert, but we all the shapers, that's one good thing about here is all of us could build a board from start to finish.
Right.
Everybody has their own skill set that's,
right.
that they're better at. But, so KP, he glassing, you can be like, hey man, what do you think? We should add a little glass, and he knows.
Yeah, he knows.
And he's really good at glass.
Now you've decided on the cloth. You've got your standard thing that you like to do. And what is it again? One on the top, one on the bottom?
So it's single 6 bottom, double 6 deck.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So
and that's 2 layers. So you're going to have, 2 layers on the deck, 1 layer on the bottom.
So you're not getting a lot of pressure dings, I'm guessing.
We're trying to keep the pressure dings down. But I mean, one time a guy said, man, I got this board. It's got some pressure dings. I said, well, I think you told me you caught like 30 waves on it your first day or something like that. That's a lot of waves. And I said, you should go stand on the hood of your car and see how many pressure dings you have. And it's made of metal. So, I mean, people should never worry about pressure dings on their surfboard. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you don't want a board that caves in on you.
Yeah.
But, but also if you're heavy footed or you're a bigger guy, you're going to get pressure dings. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter what there is. So,
I think what I like, the flexibility of having a shaper wherever you're at, find your local surf shop and have a handmade board. I think I have more control, or at least I have some input. And I'm not, because I've made mistakes before and ordered boards online. I'm not totally against it, but I prefer you to shop local and, spend upwards of like $1,500. Has the board comes to my house, ride it once, don't like it, take a beating on reselling the thing, and that's that. So I just feel more in control of this environment than I'm not in control at all.
So because you brought that up, that's kind of like, I got like, so, we used to have a CNC machine here.
I remember.
Right? We had the CNC machine, and
Tell people what that is.
It's a CNC router that cuts out surfboards.
It's like a machine that does the work of a human.
Yeah, I tell you what, you can't have one of those and not be a shaper. Like it's pretty close to done, but it's not done, and you still have a lot of work to do. And running the computer part of it is a whole nother shaping skill. So the idea behind it was, I had about 5, 6 models that are really over the years really work well, right?
Right.
And we thought, let's get a machine and do all these boards, and which is a great idea. But then I think we realized that that hand shaping the board for each person and making it just for them was kind of our bread and butter. And what I realized was I could put a board on the rack that's a great model and it works great for this guy because he's the guy it kind of was built for as a stock board.
Right.
And this other guy though, maybe it's a little small for him or a little big for him, and he buys it and he doesn't quite like it. And so then he says, I didn't really like that Psycho board. It really wasn't for me. I could have taken that same board, that same model, and built him one custom just for him, and he would have went and told his friend that it was his best board he ever had. It was magic. It's a magical board, right? And then his friend would come, and we'd build him the same board, but for him. Change just a few tweaks, make it just for him, and he's going to go tell his other buddy it's magic. And what it is you're building. Yeah, the model works great, but maybe if you just tweak those little things. So what you're saying.
Does that happen often? I'm not the only guy got a board he didn't like.
Yeah. I mean, it happens. People order boards from some major manufacturer, and they might even some of those boards you ordered didn't like. You might even be able to ride them great somewhere else.
Possibly,
right?
And I think that's
because that's where they were made for.
The truth is that the board came from California, and maybe it was designed for that type of wave out there, and it didn't perform well for me here. And I think you being more in tune with the conditions here, that you're getting a board from somebody locally that understands the kind of stuff we're up against.
And guys, in Texas, there's some great shapers. I mean, Josiah Morris down in Corpus.
Oh yeah,
he's a great shaper, man. They do great work. We got some great shapers here. Cunningham, myself, Dougie. Fulbright's a great shaper down there.
Definitely.
Steve Pearson.
Yes. Sir.
So, there's really no reason that you can't find a shaper. If there's one of us you don't like because we maybe cut you off in the water or something, go find the other one. Maybe no. Remember, we only drop in on a friend. But anyway, so yeah, the different materials. I think some of the people, they don't even ask all those questions.
And I didn't for years. That's why this is so new to me. And as Austin mentioned, there's a lot of surfers that got multiple decades of surfing that don't really know 100% about it. So this is really fun and cool for me. But no way are we ever going to get this in one show. So this is kind of a rudimentary introduction to it, and it's really important because I'm going to have questions for you here, not necessarily tonight, but entry rocker, tail rocker, rails. There's a multitude of things that will change the way the board rides and performs. So I'm anxious to learn about that kind of thing.
Yeah, it is, and they all have their own specific thing that makes the board ride, different. I'll tell you this: rocker's probably the most important part of making a good board.
Nose or tail?
The whole thing.
Understood.
The whole thing.
Understood.
If the rocker is wrong, the board will not ride good. You could have terrible rails, a terrible outline, and a good rocker, and it'll ride good. Or not. I won't say it'll ride good. It will ride. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of those things. And then, once
this is gonna be so fun.
Yeah. So once
I'm gonna learn so much.
Once you get down, and then a lot of guys, as far as just the construction, they don't really care a lot. They're just like, well, I want it to ride good and maybe be strong. Some guys are like, hey man, I want it to be super light, and I want it to try to just rip as much as I can, and I don't care how many pressure dings I put in it, and if it lasts for this long. And those are kind of like we say, those are the ones you do with double 4 deck and single 4 bottom, and it's kind of a throwaway board. You know what I'm saying?
So many variables.
I'll say it every time. I'll probably say it 10 times during we're doing this. It's just like a race car driver and a mechanic, right? So the mechanic is in here, and he's the guy who builds the car, and he puts the motor together, and he puts all these, he gets the specs, and he gets the horsepower, and he dyno tests it and everything. And because he knows, and you got this race car driver who, he's just like, man, I don't know any of that stuff. I just want to go fast around the track with my foot all the way down and not have to let up or hit the brake.
And that's a great analogy because, and I apologize for the people that know a whole lot about boards and resin, designs, and cloth. God bless you. But we're going to walk through this in baby steps. It's going to take more than one show, but I'm hoping that it will educate, some people along the way, and even some veterans, because there's some guys like me that just they put them in a cockpit, let them go. They don't want to know.
Yeah. I mean, the stringer, the stringer wood. Have you ever, I guess, everybody knows kind of what the stringer's for, right? The main reason.
Holds 2 pieces of foam together and clearly gives it strength.
Yeah, it gives it strength, right? Because it gives it strength, and it stops so much flex. The boards are super flexy without the stringer. But you got wide stringers. Generally you're doing 1/4-inch basswood.
1/4-inch basswood.
That's pretty much the industry
longboard,
standard.
Shortboard, the stringers.
1/4-inch to in my shortboards we'll go like an 1/8 or something like 3/16 or an 1/8 inch.
And then on a 9-foot plus.
1/4-inch. Sometimes
Understood.
we go a little bit thicker. That gun that Dave shaped for Westmoreland.
Yes.
That thing's got like a tree in it.
You're right.
It's
right.
got like I want to say it's probably a 1/2-inch
to
stringer.
take pounding beach breaks.
Yeah. So, so there's things like that. But really, the main thing and what I want to like say maybe get out of this one is everybody out there when you're asking about epoxy surfboards, just remember a lot of times you're talking about the foam EPS. Epoxy is only the resin used. Now, with EPS. You can't use polyester resin.
Oh, that's definitely next show because you're going to have to slowly explain to me different resins.
Yeah, and that'll be good for the people out there who want to do their ding repairs themselves. Know that because look, we've got a ton of EPS boards before that people tried to repair themselves.
Yes,
and they tried to use some polyester resin sun cure.
Happened to me.
Or some poly. And man, they're like, I don't know, man. It kept just the hole kept getting bigger,
to me, man.
And it's just burning the foam. You know what I'm saying?
I had a beautiful Bob Martin board that he shaped me many, many years ago, and I did the same thing. I was in Baja, needed to fix a quick ding. I put the wrong resin, and that thing just had some chemical. It was insane, dude. It was like, I melted my board in essence because of lack of knowledge. So
yeah, and we'll get to some other stuff. So I guess besides that, man, let's get back to the surf real quick before we end this. The surf was over the weekend. Yes, firing.
Please tell me.
How many guys did? I think a ton of guys just said they had like best waves in months or something. It was just
the whole town was abuzz with surfers, and everyone was happy. The sun was out. We don't get good waves like that often, but when we do, it sure is sweet.
Yeah, and the thing is because there was the parade, there was all these people that don't surf, and I had all these people come in the shop going, well, the surfers are out today. They're out there just killing. And I'm like, yeah, man, it's good, And it was, of course.
Which I want to point out, because that's kind of my mission, man. Shop local, whether it's a surf shop, coffee shop, barber shop, ice cream shop. Find a local business and support it, man. That's what we're all about.
I want to give a plug.
Please.
Speaking of ice cream shops, there's a new ice cream shop in Surfside. They opened briefly in the winter, right? I think they just got done.
Don't tell me that. I got my winter fat.
Yeah, and I think, hey, man, if you're in Surfside, I want to give them a plug. They don't know anything about this. Good. They have great ice cream. It's homemade ice cream. The guy's back there churning it. Yeah. And it's great ice cream. So if you're in Surfside, support them because, man, we'd love to have an ice cream place here year round. So
100%, and we like to support local businesses, all up and down the coast. I want to give a quick shout out to my Indian brothers over there, Sheikha and Joel, keeping us in the breakfast tacos from the Surfside Market. And look at the Nelson brothers.
Oh, so
how about that? Look at that.
Look at that, another sponsorship.
How about that, man? He's probably going to send me a bill, man. That's the Nelson Surfing.
I still hadn't figured out what is there. Do you do something to get one of those?
No,
they see you catch a good wave.
I ran into him, and
because every once in a while, I see somebody get one, and I'm like, man,
I ran into him, and he gave it to me. But he's probably going to send me a bill.
Well, also, speaking of the Nelson brothers, shout out to the Nelson brothers for coming through with the basketball goal for the surf station.
Yes, there's been a basketball goal.
Yeah, so now, and if you, now also, you can blame them now for any of your boards not getting done.
Right, and so there's future pickup games here at the surf station.
If you're like, hey, man, where's my board? Is it done yet? And we're playing basketball right now, so.
Hey, I'm just going to leave it with this pretty much, and that is, man, we got some guests lined up, and I'm hoping everything comes through on that. Some legends of surfing, local legends here in Texas, so that is going to be super, super duper fun, man.
Yeah, we do, and we we had a good special guest today, but again, we ran out of time. So we want to apologize to Matthew McConaughey again back there. He's checking out some boards in the shaping room, and but we will get him on next time. We promise.
My brother, we're sorry, ran out of time.
All right. Well, guys.
Thank you, guys, man. Come
Thanks
back
for
and see us.
Peace out. Y'all have a good one.
He's going to be bummed, isn't he?